So I came to the city of Kingsport in October of 1997, and we were talking about the need to rebuild Main Street then.
Right.
And the reason we were talking about it is because that end of Main Street, Wilcox, all the way out to Meadowview and Interstate 26, it was never intended in all the design that was done of Kingsport to be the front door.
The gateway, right.
Yeah, it was always really in many ways the back door. That was where industry was. That was where Eastman was, the Domtar, AGC Glass, all of that was back there.
Right.
Your primary entrances were Fort Henry Drive,
Yes.
Memorial Boulevard, Stone Drive. That was how you came into the city. And so as you look at those areas, that's reflective in the design, the zoning, and everything that takes place there. So the realization that now through the interstate, number one, Meadowview, number two, all of the things that we had there, we had to change that corridor. And so we had to take Main Street that really is it has two heads in some ways. You have your traditional Main Street with the brick sidewalks, the facades, the train station, and then you have this other section which is very much like an industrial park, and that's what ties into Sullivan and then ultimately to Wilcox. And so that was the section that we really had to focus a lot of effort on. And then the other part is the next phase of this, all under this current contract though, will be less invasive, but still it will be the goal of trying to enhance that. And what that does, every single time there is a significant public improvement, such as streetscape and the rebuild of a street, you're able to then see private reinvestment back into that. And so as we see more people having a desire to be downtown, to live downtown, to work, to shop, to eat, we recognize the need to invest more into the public infrastructure that is there. And so Main Street is a critical component of that entire thing that we have been looking at since 1997. And one of the things that we often find though, when you look at public investments in our downtown, we have a massive downtown. You know, it is, when you compare it to surrounding cities, they're looking at 3 or 4 blocks potentially. You know, we're nearly 50 blocks within our downtown, and so it is a large area. So your ability you have to really strategically look at how you make those improvements.
And how will the Brickyard tie into Main Street? Because it seems to me like that's they're two separate projects, but they're kind of blending together, I guess, when they come to the end.
They are, and that too is by design. You know, we have often said a lot of cities would love to have 100 acres of vacant land adjacent to their downtown, and for us to convert that into residential really was something that was kind of going against the grain. The thought was you have rail access, you have access to a 4-lane highway, to a state route and an industry drive. My goodness, why would you not try to find some industrial component? But the thought was, well, if we add residential development there and we can connect it to downtown, there's probably not a greater economic impact to your downtown than to put feet on the street, and to do so by adding that many housing units basically downtown. So almost overnight, which we realize it'll take time to build out, but you then find yourself as becoming one of the most populated downtowns within Northeast Tennessee. And so that was a very strategic goal of ours. And the connection will be through a pedestrian bridge. Initially, we wanted to connect via road and tie that in that way. Conversations with CSX, concerns over an active rail yard and the number of times that would be closed due to trains parked and switching out and moving of cars. We came back and said, okay, we'll close it, but we want the pedestrian bridge. We were fortunate to get a state grant. Probably when it's all said and done, be over $4 million. And so we are in that design phase right now, the permitting phase, which is lengthy when you get a state and federal grant such as this. So we are going through those steps right now. The goal for Main Street is hopefully be done late summer of '25, and the thought would be that the pedestrian bridge hopefully would begin coming up out of the ground shortly thereafter. And that ties into what we think Brickyard beginning probably sometime in the first phase, the latter part of this calendar year.